Welcome to 5 Good Minutes.
You're listening to today's inspirational message on the book of Daniel
with Kurt Bjorklund.
So Daniel 6 begins with the account of the jealousy of the fellow satraps or governors against Daniel. And then in verse 6, it moves to their plot. It says this: Then these high officials and satraps came by agreement to the king and said to him, "O King Darius, live forever. All the high officials of the kingdom and prefects and satraps, the counselors and the governors, are agreed that the king should establish an ordinance and enforce an injunction that whoever makes a petition to any god or man for 30 days, except to you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. And now, O king, establish the injunction and sign the document so that it cannot be changed according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be revoked." Therefore, King Darius signed the document and the injunction. So the king is tricked and he signs this decree saying, okay, yeah, absolutely. And here there's a hubris of the king that sees himself as so important that when he's flattered by these people coming and saying, there shouldn't be anybody making any decree to any other god, any other person except you. You rule, you are the supreme being. It's the same issue as Nebuchadnezzar wanting to be worshipped here. Maybe it's not a 90-foot tall statue, but this is a desire to be made much of, to be consulted, to be important. And so much of the misery in our world today comes from people wanting to be made much of and from petty jealousy. And then verse 10, we see Daniel's resistance. Verse 10 through 13, it says, When Daniel knew that the document had been signed, he went into his house where he had windows in his upper chamber open toward Jerusalem. And he got down on his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God as he had done previously. Some versions say, as was his custom. So Daniel goes home, just like he's done in the past, opens his windows, he kneels, he prays in full view of everybody else. Now, the question here that I would ask is, did he need to do that? Would it have been wrong if Daniel had gone home and decided to pray inside, to decide to pray sitting in a chair with his eyes open so as to not draw attention to himself? And I don't think it would have been wrong. I'm not sure that Daniel needed to do this the way that he did it, but Daniel, sensing the moment, basically said, you're not going to intimidate me in my faith into doing something different than what I've done. I'm going to continue to pray, and you can do what you're going to do. I imagine going and bowing to pray, knowing that people have set a trap for you and that you would be thrown into a lion's den because you decided to pray. I mean, I have to be honest, I would be tempted to say, you know what, I think I'll pray quietly inside or do something different. But Daniel, in a sense, brought this fight to the people who were against him, because he said, I am not going to change my ways, my faith, my actions, my routines, my customs to appease you. Verse 12, then they came near and said before the king concerning the injunction, O king, did you not sign an injunction that anyone who makes a petition to any god or man within 30 days, except you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions? And the king answered and said, the thing stands fast according to the law of the Medes and the Persians. It cannot be revoked. Then they answered and said to the king, Daniel, who is one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, O king, or the injunction you have signed, but he makes his petition 3 times a day. Now, notice how they do this. One of the exiles of Judah. You know, you've brought this foreigner here. You're exalting him. You like his excellent spirit, but he has an allegiance to something besides you. And Darius is not happy about this. We see this in the next verses, because he had a liking for Daniel. He had come to trust Daniel, and he knew now he had been tricked, but he felt constrained by his word, by what he had done, and the plot has just thickened to where now we say, how will Daniel find a way out? What is the way out? So let me just ask you today, when you find yourself in a spot where public faith versus private faith is an option, where maybe it isn't even wrong to choose private faith, but public faith provokes a response, what keeps you from choosing public faith? Is it a fear that somebody will think less of you? Is it a fear that you may not have the same promotion? Is it a fear that God will forget about where you are? I mean, part of this story is a reminder that God is in charge of everything, and that no matter how dangerous it may feel, God is bigger than the problems. But once again, what we see is Daniel isn't spared from going into the lion's den, but he's spared in the lion's den. And so God is at work, and yet in this moment, it seems as if all has been lost.
Thanks for joining us here today. There's a lot of great content to explore on Orchard Hill Plus and on the Orchard Hill main feed from the weekend. Have a great day.